All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. I am your host, Matthew Sonic Mix, and alongside my trusty sidekick, my tag team partner, he is none other than yours truly, Tony Trinity. Tony, my good friend, how are we doing today this evening?
Not bad. Yourself?
Doing good. I'm just very happy that the weekend is upon us. It's Friday night. It's a very chilly day, but boy, let me tell you something. Sunday is gonna be the talk of the town. 60 degrees out. Sunday.
Like they always say, it's perfect weather for baseball in any kind of season like this.
And perfect weather for the elimination chamber, which we're going to be getting into in just a moment here with our predictions. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, please do stick around because for you wrestling fans out there, you're going to love this one. It's going to be our predictions of this Sunday's elimination chamber and then followed by AEW Revolution Review, which I'm going to be very quick about that because I was actually there at the show. And then for wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans, if you're interested into the main event, it is going to be a topic of online dating, talking about the goods and bads, and even some personal stories on my end and my buddy Tony's end as well. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the predictions for WWE Elimination Chamber. This is the final pay per view before the big one, which is WrestleMania. And looking at the card here, we've got 6 matches, and I do have one bonus point for this show, which we'll get to in just a few moments here. So,
You and your darn bonus points.
yep. Well, hey, WrestleMania. We gotta build the tension up because I think this year's WrestleMania may break the record for the most bonus points we give for one show.
If
So
it's 5 matches when I'm praying, then it's still 5 matches, but I digress.
exactly. So going from the bottom to the top here, we've got Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo for the United States Championship. Who do you think takes it?
Andrade Cien Almas.
You know, it doesn't make sense why Humberto is getting a title shot here, so it's got to be Andrade. So I'm picking on.
Unless if they do the swerve and do Humberto Carrillo winning, and then at WrestleMania, then he could go up against Angel Garza for the title.
I don't see that happening. I really don't. I mean, Humberto has been losing like all of these matches. There's no credibility within him at this moment. So I got to go with Andrade with this one. Up next, the Street Profits versus Rollins and Murphy, the rematch from Monday Night Raw for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Who do you think wins?
I seriously think that the AOP should face off against the tag team titles by now. And I know that last Monday was, or this past Monday was if the Street Profits do not win, then they lose any opportunity for the Raw tag team titles. So then that means then that they would have probably go to NXT or SmackDown for a tag team title shot. But I'm glad that they won. But I think that the AOP should face off against the title by now since they do deserve it by now. And since it wouldn't make any sense if it was going to be Seth Rollins and Murphy versus the AOP. That makes zero sense for that. It makes more sense with Street Profits versus AOP than the AOP wins against the Street Profits at WrestleMania. So therefore, thusly, with that answer, I'm sticking to the Street Profits for this particular matchup.
Yeah, I'm going for the Street Profits as well. I mean, they just won the titles, although that doesn't mean they could drop it right back to them, but I don't see that happening, so I'm picking the Street Profits for the W. Up next, Aleister Black versus AJ Styles in a no disqualification match.
Clinically, this match could go either way, but I think that for this particular match and leading up into WrestleMania, I think AJ Styles needs to win at least before he has to face off against the Undertaker.
I,
Unless if he loses, then he goes on a tear and destroys the Undertaker at WrestleMania. You know, if he loses, then he has to win against the Undertaker. But if he wins, then he could lose to the Undertaker. So, you know what? I'm going with a balls out prediction, saying AJ Styles.
I was flipping back and forth about this because, well, Black lost unfairly, so I would think, well, Black almost has to win. But then I was thinking, well, wait a minute, AJ's facing the Undertaker. It's a very
You know where I was coming from with
no,
this.
no, no, no. I know exactly where you're coming from here. It's like okay, if Black wins, it makes sense because he lost unfairly on Raw, but then AJ almost has to win because they may want to build him up to face the Undertaker. I'm I'm gonna go.
Because who was Aleister Black facing at Mania?
Nobody.
So does he really need to win?
No, I don't. I mean, and not to mention, it's a no disqualification match. So it's like if AJ wins, it doesn't make Black look bad because they're using weapons and whatnot. It wasn't a decisive, clean win. So I'm gonna go with AJ. I'm going with AJ Styles because I think if they want to build him up to face the Undertaker, which that's what's gonna happen, then it makes more sense, I think, for AJ to win. So I'm going to go with AJ for that. Up next, it is the SmackDown Tag Team Elimination Chamber match. It is the Usos versus Morrison and Miz, the New Day, the Lucha House Party, Heavy Machinery, and Ziggler and Robert Roode, who just won a gauntlet match on SmackDown, so they will be going last in the Elimination Chamber match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Who do you think wins?
Comically, and for their official redemption from tonight, I'm picking Heavy Machinery.
Oh, I'm gonna go with Miz and Morrison. I really like their little act they have, and I just don't think it's not. I don't think it's not the time. I think WrestleMania would be the time for them to drop it. I think you can build up.
Uh, uh, let's just say if they do it at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
Then who are they gonna face off against?
You could do Heavy Machinery. You can have Heavy Machinery be the hot act in the chamber, and they're getting close. They're getting close, but it's not close enough for them to win it. I say you could build it up to at least WrestleMania. You could have this go on till WrestleMania. So I'm picking Morrison and the Miz for the win.
But let's just say if Heavy Machinery wins, then does that mean that they have an automatic? Well, they don't do automatic rematch clauses. Then who would then Heavy Machinery go off against at WrestleMania?
Well,
Could they go up against Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode?
well, I mean, yes, I mean, with the whole Mandy story and whatnot, yeah, you could do one of two things. You could do either Otis against Ziggler, which probably would be on a kickoff match. I'd be shocked if it was on a main card. But then again, it could be on a main card. Or you could do Heavy Machinery against Miz and Morrison.
Which one would draw better?
I mean, the Mandy Rose story has to be involved. So I think Otis and Ziggler would be the more. I mean, the match would be fine, but I think people would care more about, Mandy finally being with Otis. That would be the big payoff. So I'm gonna go with Miz and Morrison. I'm going for the safe bet here. And then finally, what's probably the main event, it is the women's elimination chamber match.
Shayna.
Well,
Shayna.
yeah.
Nope. No need to. Nope.
Shayna Baszler is going to demolish Asuka, freaking Natalia, uh, Ruby Riot, which is good to see her, by the way. Um, Liv Morgan, which is kind of puzzling why she's in here, but I guess okay.
It's
And
for the it's pretty much just a screw job of the Riot Squad, pretty much.
Sarah Logan. So Shayna Baszler. And before we go over the tally really quick, I did
Could
have that bonus point.
could I tell you something?
What's that?
It'll even be more comical if Shayna Baszler bites every one of those women in the back of their necks.
Oh, geez, we don't need vampire Shayna Baszler.
Why not?
I mean, okay, the act she pulled. I mean, I guess it was a one-time thing, which I'm cool with that. But I mean, we don't need some of the commentators like a specific Michael Cole going, "Oh, it's the vampire Shayna Baszler." I mean, come on, we don't need that. She needs to be personified as the badass MMA fighter.
That Ronda Rousey slightly botched at her WrestleMania finish.
Yeah.
Since she wasn't supposed to be the one to get eliminated. It was supposed to be Charlotte Flair that night. But we all digress. So I guess this is an MMA redemption.
Oh, but by the way, I skipped on this match by accident. Although this match is pretty forgettable, if I do say so. And that's Braun Strowman versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn in a 3-on-1 handicap match for the Intercontinental Champion.
Well, let's just say if one of those three wins, does that mean that they become the Intercontinental Champion and not Shinsuke Nakamura himself?
I guess it would be the stupid co-championship thing, which never works.
It never does. Look at the Divas title.
Yeah.
I believe. No, it was actually the women's championship.
It was the women's championship.
Like Cool.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. That one did not work at all.
No. That match, I'm going Strowman. I think that's an easy point.
Strowman, yep.
And then I already mentioned the women's chamber match. We both said Shayna. Now for the bonus point. And this bonus point involves Shayna Baszler. From 1 through 6, what entry does she come out to?
If you want her to be booked as a dominant superstar and not a weak-ass person, I'm picking number 1.
Number 1.
And she's going to start in the chamber itself, not in any of those pods. Because I think that if she does do that, then she has all the legitimately gripe against Becky Lynch, and that will make her even more a dominant force off against Becky Lynch if she will eliminate all 5 members in that chamber.
You know, oh boy. I mean, oh boy.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. You know what? I am going to say number 6. I think she's good. I think she will be saved up for the number 6 spot. And when she comes out, she's going to be like a bat out of hell and just choke every single one of them out. Which hopefully the last 2 will be Asuka against Shayna. And obviously Shayna wins.
It's either going to be Asuka or Ruby Riot.
I think Asuka makes the more sense. But let's go over the tally here really quick. So Andrade against Carrillo, we both said Andrade. The Street Profits against Murphy and Rollins, we both said the Street Profits. Black against Styles, we both said Styles. The SmackDown Elimination Chamber match, you said Heavy Machinery. I said Miz and Morrison. The Strowman versus Nakamura, Cesaro, Zayn 3-on-1 handicap, we both said Strowman. We both said Shayna would dominate and murder all the participants in the women's chamber match. And then for the bonus point, what entry does Shayna come out? You said she'd be starting at number 1, and I think she'll be coming out at number 6. So we could end up with a tie, or one of us could end up with a win. Simple as that. Now let's go down really quick because we do have a very heavy subject with the main event here. This past Saturday's AEW Revolution, I thought it was a very great show. Just gonna run down the card really quick. Match kicked off with.
So I have a question. Would you say AEW Revolution is better than any takeover that we have ever seen?
Well, I mean, if I can just give a very quick review and a score on each, we'll see how I compare it to say the last takeover. So, show kicked off strangely with Hager versus Dustin Rhodes. I thought the match was fine. A little, I wouldn't say it was too basic, but it was fine for what it was worth. One of the highlight spots was, I think it was Hager's wife. There was a spot there where, Hager's basically drawing the tongue in the mouth of his wife, and then Dustin Rhodes decided to get a little piece of that action for himself. Um, got a nice little chant from the crowd. I forgot what they were chanting, but match was fine, nothing too special. 2 3/4. That's about all I can give it. Darby Allin against Sammy Guevara was up next. This match was really good, pretty insane. Guevara was already in the ring, and as soon as Darby Allin hit the ring, he comes charging at Sammy Guevara, who was outside of the ring with a tope suicida, as Excalibur likes to say. And then Sammy Guevara gave a very, very nuts, like out of your mind, 630 from the turnbuckle out of the ring and onto Darby Allin, who was laying on top of a table. Very, very crazy spot. So this all happened before the bell had rang. Finally, the bell rings. Very good match. Darby Allin hits the coffin drop, picks up the big W. Uh, I give it about a 3.5. It was a very good match, definitely worth checking out. Up next was the.
I have a question.
What's
I
that?
was thinking about this at work. Does Darby Allin kind of remind you of a Jeff Hardy?
Maybe not so a Jeff Hardy, but maybe more so of a Mankind on the level of crazy stunts that he likes to take.
I mean, like the face paint and all.
Oh, well, face paint wise, well, yeah. Except, except Jeff does it full face. Darby Allin does it half face.
Gotcha.
Up next was the tag team match. This was outstanding. Tag team excellence at its finest. It was a great match. It told a great story. Basically, the story being, can Kenny Omega trust Adam Page? Which in the end, it showed that he can. There was this great like spirit energy kicked out. There was a moment where the Young Bucks were like pretty much almost turning heel towards the end. Um, and then like towards the end, like that last 30 seconds, Adam Page just cleaned house. And I love the little tease as they were celebrating Page and Omega. Omega's in the ring and Page is on the apron. And he's teasing that he's going to do the buckshot lariat. And he didn't. And I love that tease there, which basically it's building up the tension and just a phenomenal match. Like I said, told a great story and whatnot. And I think this match proved that the Young Bucks is not all about spots, that when there's a good story to tell, they can tell it in the ring. I give this match a 5 out of 5. It was really, really great. Definitely worth checking out. Crowd was on fire for that match. Up next, sadly, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, I'm saying this because there was no way to recover from all that excitement from that tag team match. And that was Chris Statlander versus Nyla Rose. Nobody didn't really care about this match because of all the yelling and screaming and cheering from the match before. The match was not really good. I would say maybe decent, okay, but it was really nothing special. And there was two really bad botch spots like in the last 30 seconds of the match, which did not look good at all. I give it about a 2. That's about it. Up next was MJF versus Cody. I thought the match was good. Solid 3. Can't really give it anything higher than that. MJF picked up the win. And looking back at it, I thought, you know what? It makes more sense. It makes more sense for MJF to win, only because they do need to maybe elevate him a little bit more as the big mega heel. Cody will be fine. I mean, he still gets cheer like nobody's business. So Cody to eat the fall was fine. It was fine for him. Solid 3.
And rocking a new neck tattoo, if you don't
Yeah,
mind me adding.
I mean, I think it looks cool, but the side of the neck, I don't know. I mean,
Could I tell you something that I was thinking about?
what's that?
He's no longer doing his old school gimmick back in the WWE and calling himself Dashing.
Well, I
Because
think he
a neck,
dropped that when he did the Stardust thing.
but you know what I mean. A neck tattoo is not dashing.
No.
It's tacky. No offense to people who do got neck tattoos. Some do look good. Some do look nice. Some do look pretty. But I digress. For a person like his caliber, the chest tattoo would have been fine. If that neck tattoo was like on his arm, that would even be even more fine, you know?
Yeah, but I say to myself, why the neck? Like, I feel like that placement should have been like on the arm. Like, can you imagine like going to board meetings? There's no way to cover that neck.
Uh, there
Unless you
kind
have
of
like say a
is
turtleneck.
there is kind of a way, but then that would be a whole lot of product that he has to put on his neck.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, solid 3. Pac versus Orange Cassidy. This match was awesome. I mean, there's so
I
many.
heard it was fun. I heard it was fun.
Two polar opposites. You know, you got Pac, who's this ruthless bastard. He's got the smug look. You got Orange Cassidy, who's like this chill, cool dude with his hands in his pockets. Polar opposites, and this match worked. The one highlight, and this is something you have to look back on if you can find the clip of it. So Pac is going for the Black Arrow. And Orange Cassidy, he rolls out of the way. People are going crazy for it. So Pac tries again. Orange Cassidy rolls over. And as Orange Cassidy is rolling back to the opposite side of the ring, Pac goes, no, 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 no. Hold on a second. I'm going to stop this guy right here. So he leaves the ring. He walks over. So he's outside of the ring. And he meets Orange Cassidy at the end of the ring, and Cassidy looks at Pac dead in the eyes, and there- there's this great camera shot of Orange Cassidy smiling. He's smiling at Pac, and as he's smiling, he rolls back to the other side of the ring, and the crowd is going nuts for this. They were lit for this match. And there was a great chant of match of the year, which I about just died laughing when I heard that chant. This crowd was lit from start to finish. Um, and you know what? Orange Cassidy, you know what? For the people that say, "Oh, he can't wrestle. All he is, he's a comedy show." You know what? He was pulling off some good moves in that ring, especially those that with his hands in his pockets. He's a good act. And you know what? I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. And if people want to be pissed off about it, go cry about it. But I'm giving it a
Uh,
4.
did he actually wrestle throughout the whole match with his hands in his pockets,
No, not through the whole
or or did he actually use his hands?
not through the whole duration. He did use his hands, but some of the moves that he did pull off, he did it with his hands in his pockets.
That guy's crazy, I swear.
Oh my god. But yeah, if you can, like, try to find the video or like the match for that and just watch it because it's really great. You'll be entertained from start to finish. I was actually watching it yesterday. Somebody posted it on YouTube. I'm sure it may get taken down within a matter of a few days because you can't do that, obviously. But if you get
Now without written consent from AEW themselves,
right,
it will get taken down.
right. But I mean, if you can find it before it gets taken down, quickly watch it. It's definitely worth a watch. And then find
And fun fact, guys, I actually had the privilege of going to see 2v2 this past year, and there's two people that walked past me. That was Dr. Britt Baker and the one funny dude in Orange Cassidy.
with
That would have been awesome if I would have taken a picture with the both of them on the sales floor.
with a crooked crooked thumbs up.
No, I would have actually put my hands in the pocket when Orange Cassidy's on the one side, and my arms around Britt Baker on the other side. That would have been freaking phenomenal. That would have been freaking phenomenal. That would be like, and I'm cool, baby.
Oh, jeez. And then finally, the main event, Moxley versus Jericho. Before I get to the match, I just want to point out a couple things about their entrances. I love Moxley's entrance. How he walked in through the doors of the Wintrust Arena. He's walking in through the crowd, and the camera. I actually had to watch this back again to see. The camera followed him through the whole way, and I liked that spot a lot. But of course, the highlight was everyone singing Judas to Chris Jericho's theme and the opera singer. And
I have a question about Moxley with his entrance. Doesn't it kind of remind you of like a Bill Goldberg?
maybe in the way of coming through the crowd.
And I mean like the duration of his old entrance, like the Titantron and the camera angle and whatnot, shooting at him and then going like through the curtains or through the crowd or whatnot, whatever the case may have been. It kind of reminds me of like a Bill Goldberg sense.
Yeah, I get I get what you mean by that. But yeah, the Judas entrance was awesome. Everybody singing to the song was awesome.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you sing throughout the whole song?
Yes, until yeah, even when the music got cut, people were still singing that last part of it.
Why can't that bitch do his full theme song one day
I,
and
I'm
people sing throughout the whole thing?
I'm sure when his career comes to an end, maybe he'll give us that bonus and he'll play the whole song for us.
I would love that. I would
But
love to be there if it was in Chicago.
but that was a very good match, and what I loved about it more was it was one finisher that sealed the deal. One Paragon shift, one and done. And you know what? I liked it. I liked it. It makes the Paragon shift look like a deadly move, and that once you hit it, you're done. Although there was one thing I wish it did happen, but I get why they didn't do it. What I was really hoping was Jericho hits the Judas effect. People rise out of their seats because they think it's the finish. And just before the three, Moxley just kicks out. I was hoping that spot would come into play, but they seem that they want to protect that move, which I approve of. I approve of it. And I think the Judas effect should be a move that nobody should never kick out of, or if Jericho himself knows that this is his last run, whoever the lucky guy is gets the kick out of the Judas effect.
Only reason why it was a one finish is because they don't want another WWE shtick where they could use like your same finisher 10 times in a
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, like how the curb stomp was when they bastardized that move.
Against the
The
Fiend.
Fiend, yep. But I give this match a 3.5, 3 3/4 out out of 5. So overall score 1 to 10, I give this about an 8.5, 8.75 out of 5. Comparing it to the other NXT takeovers, I would say it was probably on par with this past takeover. Now, granted, that was 5 matches compared to what, 7 matches. But I mean, there was a stinker with the women's match, and I thought Hager versus Dustin was fine at best. But the other matches, Allen versus Guevara, what I said, 3.5. The tag team match, solid 5. MJF against Cody, 3. Pac against um Cassidy, 4. The main event, 3 3/4. So you put all that together, I can easily say it was on par, easily.
Could I tell you something?
What's that?
For mathematics, because I'm a mathematic personnel with you in particular, with the math that I could do in my head, I would hate to say this, but that 8.5 or 8.75, maybe a little too generous, if I do say so myself. I think honestly, in your heart of hearts, it should have been at least a 7 or an 8, not that as high that you gave it.
Well, you gotta think about it. I mean, the better the match, or the higher you give the rating, the higher that your overall status has to be. Now, I
But
will say this.
mathematics, but mathematics speaks for itself.
But I will say this. You could have done away with the Hager and Dustin Rhodes match. If it would have been 6 matches, then I think this show could have easily had been a 9 out of 10.
So if they eliminated the two worst matches, what rating would you give it?
Oh my god. I mean, oh, of course you would have had to had a women's match, or maybe the women's match could have been better. But let's say if you eliminated the women's match and Hager versus Dustin, and let's say you kick things off with that Darby Allin against Guevara, which would have been a great way to kick off the match or the show, whatever. Oh my god, you could have easily been talking a 9.5.
So with that rating, then that doesn't that beat AE or NXT Takeover?
With that rating, oh yeah, it would have totally had beaten it. Especially with some of the storylines they were telling, especially the tag team one. Oh yeah, easily.
So what was the best match for this past Takeover, if you can remember?
Of this year?
Yes.
Well, let's see. We had what? Well, we had the Worlds Collide show, then we had the Takeover Portland. I think Keith Lee and Dijak was the best.
And what rating did you give it?
Well, God, let's see. I mean, we had to go back into our one episode. I think I gave it a 4.5 if I remember right.
Got close to doing the Elite versus the Elite matchup.
Yeah. And I will say this. That tag team match, I'm talking about the Page Omega match against the Young Bucks. That match was better than the Broserweights against Undisputed.
I already knew that.
And like I said,
But
just
if you had to do best match versus best match, which match would you want to relive and rewatch all over again?
probably that tag team match of the Young Bucks and Omega and Page. Just the story building up to it, the story they were telling, the fact that the Young Bucks were showing some heelish tactics, like around like the 20-minute mark, which build more, and Adam Page just cleaning house towards the end, and people just losing their minds for Adam Page. Like, Like Adam Page is a star, maybe even a superstar in that company. Like he gets a big reaction when he comes down to that ring.
To me, he kind of reminds me of James Storm in a way,
Uh, well, probably in a much better version.
with the whole drinking
Yep.
and more drinking and more drinking and the long hair, I think, that
Yep.
they both got.
I'll tell you this much. If they wanted to put the title on him, as in the AEW title, by say All Out or the show in November, you know what? I'd be all in on it. He's over like gangbusters right now.
But we all know that the next person in line right now
Is
is uh, Kenny Omega.
right. But of course, with MJF climbing the ranks now, if he was to beat Omega, that would shoot him up the ranks. He would leap over him.
Who would you rather see versus Moxley?
Well,
Omega or MJF?
Well, I think we're getting MJF at Double or Nothing, and I think we're saving Omega and Moxley for All Out. That's what I can see happening.
Personally, I don't like MJF because of one reason and one reason only.
And that is?
He is a Colt Cabana reject.
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
Look at those two guys. Don't they kind of look alike?
Mm, maybe if you're looking in a sense of like one's this kind-hearted good guy and the other one's a not so kind-hearted good guy.
No, like the facial expressions
Oh,
and the face.
not really. I don't see it.
A little bit.
Maybe I don't know. I don't see it, but yeah. Just to shut down this review, 8.5, really great show. I would highly recommend watching it, or if you could ever find it on YouTube somewhere. Well, that ends the wrestling talk. So for all you wrestling fans out there, if you want to cut the video off right here, you can. But if you want to stick around for a really good main event here, you're in for a good treat because the main event for tonight is the online dating topic, talking about the goods, the bads, the dangers, and all that good stuff. So, Tony, I gotta talk to you about online dating. Have you ever
What?
experienced it?
What about online dating?
Anything? What can you tell me about it? What stories have you heard? I think even you have a story about something that happened in Las Vegas.
Lasted for about. Uh, so my memory was either 2 weeks or 2 months. I always forget.
Well, if you don't mind sharing with the audience here, what exactly had happened?
Well, I met this girl in an AOL chat somehow or another back in the day. If you remember those kinds of chats online,
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yep.
let's just say there was one girl in particular that I really liked, attractive and all, whatnot, and there was like a group of three girls. There was her, the attractive one. There was the punk-looking girl, and then there was this third girl to which she hated my guts at the start for 6 months. I I kid you not. She hated my guts for 6 months. I'm like, you bitch. But but she warmed up to me for some off the wall reason, which was really cool if I do say so myself. Because that makes me look like I'm frickin' Shawn Michaels here, you know?
So what happened? Like, did you just end up meeting the person, or did you never met the person?
Never met the person, which would have been even. I don't know how would I say this. It could have been cool, but I would have been a little hesitant on the matter, if that makes sense.
No. I mean, I get what you mean. Like, I mean, I could tell you probably thousands and thousands of stories of online dating or stories that I've heard. Um, what's funny in a way. There's this guy on YouTube, and he basically tells these horror stories. And one of the stories he was talking about was or how these people met through like an online dating website. I think it was like Tinder or Match.com, and everything went fine for the moment until like one night he was like stalking outside this person's house at like midnight and actually try to break into the person's house, which I bet that was a very scary situation. Um, there was even games that I used to go on to that they don't exist anymore. But there was a guy that I had met. He lived up in I want to say it was Maine. And he met his girlfriend through the game that I used to go on. And I guess the girl lived out in California, if I remember the state right. And she flew all the way from California to Maine. And of course, we're going back 12 years ago, but they were living a happy life. And hopefully, they are still living that happy life. Um, a family member of mine, he met his wife through Match.com, and they're still together to this day. Almost 7 years to be exact of marriage. And then, of course, I've heard those online stories from people that it seemed like it was going good, and unfortunately, it did not go good. Case in point here, one of my best buds, who's unfortunately not among the living anymore. His name was Ron. When he was living out in Oklahoma, he told me the story. There was a girl that he had met that lived out in California, and I think this was at the time when cell phones were not at its peak. This was before the internet on phones. So he's talking to this chick, and he gets on this bus. Now he has no car. So he literally has to go from bus stop to bus stop, bus station to bus station, just to get to California. So right before he hits the border, he gives one last phone call, and he basically says, "Hey, I'm in California. Are you going to be at the stop at the bus station?" And the woman had said, "Yes, I'll be there. When do you think you're going to be there by?" And my buddy Ron said, "Oh, I should be there in about an hour." And the girl said, "Okay, good. I'll see you in about an hour. I'll wait for you there as long as I can." So he gave the destination, he gave the coordinates, gave it to her. He arrives at the bus station. Now, at this point, I can't imagine what he was going through. So he arrives at the bus station and he sits down on the porch, or he sits down on the seat, whatever, and he's waiting. Minutes go by, nothing. Couple hours go by, nothing. Starts getting a little bit hungry, and I guess there was like this taco bar where they were selling tacos and nachos. He walks over, gets himself some nachos, goes back on the seat. He's waiting, doesn't show up. Nightfall comes, doesn't show up. Spends the night laying on the chair seat, whatever. Next morning comes, never shows up. He waited the entire day in that 80-degree heat. She never showed up.
80 degrees not that bad.
No, but I mean,
But that whole situation sucked.
so
Did
finally
you find out what the fuck happened?
So well, I'm getting to that point. So he gets back on the bus. Now I guess his phone was kind of dead, or it had no signal. Once again, these were cell phones at the time. I'm pretty sure the signals were not that very great. So he gets back on the bus and he goes back, bus stop to bus stop, bus station to bus station, all the way back to Oklahoma. And once again, he tells the story. He gets back home, he dials the number, never heard from her again.
Wow.
She basically left
That
him.
is shitty beyond shitty.
He or she, in this case, left him high and dry. And I even asked him, I said to him, did you ever try finding her on Facebook? And I think he said he tried to, but he never remembered her last name.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around, where the guy leaves the girl high and dry, not the girl leaving the guy high and dry.
I mean, I felt extremely bad for him, but there is a big bright side to all of this. So many years later down the road, his wife Joy, who I still keep in contact frequently to this day, she lived down in Louisiana, and I forgot how the story went, but I guess they met online. I don't know if it was AOL or it was somewhere, and he went
Lovely
down
AOL back again.
to Louisiana, and they fell madly in love. They went back up to Oklahoma, and I guess they decided to live somewhere down south, so they ended up living in Alabama, where they lived out the rest of their lives. And unfortunately, he, like I said, he passed away. It'll be 4 years this July. It'll be this July that he'll be gone for 4 years.
Yeah, going on 4 years. You're right.
Um, and then of course, I've heard other stories. Actually, one of my other friends, whose name I won't mention, she's the one that lives down in Daytona. There was an incident that happened where there was a guy that she was meeting, and this guy came all the way from a different country. So he goes and visits her. I think it was like for like a week or two. And after the week or two, he goes back, and all of a sudden, he has a different change in attitude. Before, he was very nice, very cool, but when he went back, he almost had like this negative attitude, this very aggressive attitude, almost like a controlling attitude. And I think there was one night where I just heard them arguing, and this was on an online game that I was on, and I just heard them arguing and arguing and arguing, and finally I said, you know what? I'm just gonna teleport somewhere. So I did. I teleported somewhere, and I was like, I'm not gonna deal with this shit. Let them deal
Fuck
with
this.
it.
Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I think I went to some like random dance club or some random racetrack, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy my time here. I'll leave the storm behind. Um, to which I don't think she doesn't keep in contact with them anymore ever since that incident.
Well, good.
Well, I mean, no,
Because
no, I mean exactly.
because no person in any kind of relationship should have any negative attitude, remarks, or anything of that sort. They should always bring in positivity for their relationship. If they bring none of that, then it's best to be left alone, kind of deal.
Now, before I get into my stories, because I've got a good bunch to talk about, I want to ask you this. Do you think online dating does work or doesn't work? And explain to yourself why.
It could go either way. And why I'm saying that? Because I actually experienced that I did have a online relationship with somebody, and we actually meant something to each other. We still keep in contact with each other once in a while. Not often because she's really busy with 3 kids and a husband and whatnot. And I'm currently with a special friend of mine, and neither one of us would trade it for the world kind of deal with the significant other that we picked. And her caring about me and me caring about her speaks volume within itself. No matter if we're in a relationship or not, me and this person in Vegas, uh, having a care and cherishing admiration towards each other is very rare and few in between out of anybody that you will ever meet in life. Granted, I do have one best friend. Granted, who was a guy, and granted, I do have a very close guy friend as well, and a very best friend that I'm currently with, as far as ladies go. You know what I mean?
Right.
But having a girl that's really that close, that cares about my happiness and everything else, is always a great thing to have in life. Like I said, it's very rare to have that.
I,
Granted, I've had girls online that we talk from time to time, sometimes almost on a daily basis, and we get closer that way. And let's just say if God forbid, me and my fiance break up, I would rather pick a person online who is a gamer and a cosplayer, because those are the two most fun relationships that I think I could ever have in life right now.
and that's a good thing.
With, because if you find something that you're in common with, it's always a better thing. Like, let's just say if I do date a gamer, then I could go to more gaming conventions by doing that. Would it be PAX East, PAX West, PAX South, TwitchCon, YouTube conventions, E3? If the coronavirus wasn't a thing now, Twitch Con Europe, which is in Amsterdam. Uh, let's see, Guardian Con, which is now GCX, and more gaming conventions along the way. But let's just say if I pick a girl who was into cosplaying, then I would go more to C2E2, Wizard World across the country, doing more trips, more vacations that way. So, me being an adventurer, I think you'll be more beneficial for going towards a cosplayer as opposed to a gamer. But if they're both, well, fuck. You know what I mean? Then I have more doors and opportunities by doing just that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. My personal view with online dating, I think it can work. And I mean sometimes it doesn't. Although I'm not one of those people that goes on Tinder or Match.com. I feel like ever since I've been hearing like those stories like on YouTube by the person that tells these stories, I just kind of feel like, oh boy, like I don't want some psychopathic girl trying to murder me in my sleep. I'm not saying not all of them are like that, of course. You've got your good ones, and then of course you got the psychopath ones. Um, yeah, I don't want
I
to.
know about those.
I don't want my story being on YouTube and have the narrator tell the story of how it happened through my experience. I don't want anything like that to happen.
Could I
Um,
tell you one perfectly jokingly thing that I've told a lot of people?
what's that?
And I have CM Punk to thank for this particular motto. I dig crazy chicks. But if it's in terms of a crazy chick that's in a straitjacket, then that's fuck you. I ain't dealing with that shit. But if it's a crazy chick in a good way, it's fine. But if it's a crazy chick in a bad way, fuck that shit. I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, no, it either works for people, other times it doesn't work for them. I mean, then you just kind of have to just keep searching around until you actually do find the one. Now, I've got a lot of stories to talk about here, and I'm sure you're going to be questioning some of these stories. And I know you know the one story, but of course, for the audience here, I have to tell the full story here. So, I have done
Yeah, how about that one? Continue.
we'll get to the main event of that one in just a moment here. Now, before her, I have done several online dating, and none of them did not go very well. And then there was a few ridiculous ones with that one. So I'm gonna mention the first one here. So the first one goes back all the way back to February of 2008. And this girl who I was online dating at the time on a game that it doesn't exist anymore, but the game was called Virtual Laguna Beach. Once or VMTV. Once again, the game doesn't exist anymore.
I don't
But
think I've heard of that game.
the girl that I was dating at the time, I was 17 at the time. I was still in high school, about to graduate.
And how old was she, if you don't mind
She
me asking?
she was 18. So I'll go into a little bit of detail here, and I'll just mention first names if I remember their names, not last names, of course. But her name was Christy or Christine, and she lived down in Florida. I don't think it was in Miami. I think it was just the Florida area. But she was a teacher at the age of 18. Now, thinking about that, I was like,
The fuck?
mm. Now, okay, she could have been a teacher's aide, maybe not a teacher. Although the only possible way I could have seen that being done, it's kind of impossible, but it could be done. She could have graduated senior year at a very young age of 16, possibly. She could have graduated at 16, and she could have done full-time fall semester, full-time spring semester, done full-time summer semester. So she could have just been constantly been taking these classes over and over again until maybe she did got teacher's aid, and she did so well she got the title of teacher. Is it possible? Yeah. But is it hard? You bet your ass it is. So,
Is it likely? Chances are probably not.
yes. And I think if I remember right, her job title was music teacher.
Still, even with that easy in front of a class, I seriously still to this date doubt that was ever a thing. That
Right.
her being a teacher.
Now maybe a teacher's assistant.
Teacher's assistant, yes, because if I know my college life, university life, whatnot, usually to get into a dedicated field, you have to be going into senior year and taking like an internship, if you will. That is the only way they get ever become a teacher is if you go through the internship and become a teacher's aide, like a full blown teacher's aide at that point. I mean, she could have done an internship at a young age, but it didn't last that long.
No. So I mean, she could have just said teacher just to shorten it for teacher's aid. She could have done that. But I digress. So the relationship the relationship only lasted for 3 days. And I remember this like it was yesterday. What happened was she broke up with me on Valentine's Day. Here's the reason why. Now, I think you remember this story. This actually happened here in Illinois. There was a school shooting, I think it was at Northwestern University. It happened on Valentine's Day. And it drew my attention, and I was like, "Oh shit, like what's going on here?" So, I'm glued to the TV, and as I'm watching the TV, time is just kind of just going by. And I remember going, "Oh shit, I was supposed to meet up with Christy on the game." So I logged on to the game, and she's chewing me out. She's like, "Where have you been?" And I even said to her that there was a school shooting, and she's like, "Well, I understand that and all, but you were supposed to be on here for me. Forget about it. We're done." And I'm just like, "Okay." But then the next
Fuck that clingy bitch.
and then the next day, the next day, she owed up to it. She apologized, and I accepted her apology. But we only kept in contact for like a good month, and she disappeared, and I've never heard from her since. So, Christy down in Florida, hope everything's going well for you.
How messed up would it be if you actually did visit Florida one day, meeting up with said friend and
I
you bumped into her somehow?
there that is impossible because we never shared information. I never knew what she looked like, so I don't even know what she looks like. So that's out the window.
Got it.
The second one, it was on the same game. Her name was Tiffany, and she lived in California. This is ridiculous here because nobody believed her stories except for maybe a couple, but they just didn't want to admit that she was a storyteller. But she lived in California, and she claimed, I don't know what her job title was. I don't know if she was like an actress in photograph or for photography. I don't know what's the fancy word to say it. But basically, I remember her telling me this story that she owned a Lamborghini and a Land Rover. She owned like a portion of the WWE stage, and that her godmother was Trish Stratus. I was
Cool. 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 Cool.
I was 17.
Actually, I did meet a girl online who claims that she was Stephanie McMahon's uh, goddaughter or something or another. I'm like, cool. Can I get an autograph? No.
No, no, you see, with me, it would be show me proof. Because I'll believe it when I see it.
And that's actually what I told this girl. And like, show me proof, then I can believe you. Otherwise, no.
And of course, she never did because she probably was a liar or probably was fabricating the story. But anyway, so this girl I was online dating at the time. Her name was Tiffany. She was 18. I was still 17 at the time. Or was I 8? No, 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 no. I was 17 at the time. She was 18. And funny enough, she was the first girl that I online dated who had a kid. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah, 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 yeah. A tale of stories to be told here. To which I'm pretty sure,
You got some explaining to
to
do.
which I'm pretty sure her kid now probably graduated high school, if I'm guessing. But I digress. Um, No, the relationship ended. It was more on me. I ended the relationship because, well, one, I just thought she was a storyteller that told stories that weren't true. And secondly, she never showed up on the game. And then one night, she saw my message and she got pissed, gave me back all the stuff that I gave to her, and she was like, "Go and enjoy your wonderful life." And I said, "Okay, bye." I did not care.
Crazy bitch.
Man, I really did went for the crazy ones, did I? At least at my young time. Well, I mean, you
Alright, that's one crazy bitch. That's two crazy bitches. Let's continue on, shall we?
yes. Number 3, same game. Now, this one, she was the first ever international friend that I met. And this one came all the way from Jamaica.
Hey, Bumpy Kingston, yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Damn,
Uh,
that was pretty good, wasn't it?
I would love to go to Jamaica one day just for the hot weather, the sandy beaches. Oh,
Not with this, not with this coronavirus that's going around.
eh, I'll take the chance. But no,
Yeah, so
anyway,
right.
let me digress. So her name was Nicola. A pretty name. I like the name Nicola.
It's
And
exotic.
it is, it is. Now, this was a very screwed up situation here, all because it involved a brat at the time, which
The
this
fuck?
which this same brat is now probably 23 as of this podcast. Yes, probably 23 at this time. Um so what happened was this brat who was involved with me and Nicola at the time, um she was, how can I put it, very obnoxious, very rude, and I wouldn't say kind of. She insulted my mom. Uh what had what had
That's one thing that you never do is insult a mother.
what happened was, and it wasn't a big deal, but when you hear about it, it doesn't matter what level it is a big deal. My mom had a level 1 tumor. Now, granted, yes, it's a level 1, it's not threatening, but a tumor is a tumor. You don't mess around with that. And I don't remember the exact words to what this brat said, and the brat said something to the extent of, "Oh, who cares?"
The
I
fuck?
yeah, and that pissed me off. So what I did was I went to one of the greeters of the game. Now, a greeter was basically the authority, I guess you could say,
So like a moderator.
pretty much. And I guess you could say that I sort of snitched, but at the same time, what she said about my mom, I was not going to take that worth a dime. Now, the game I went on to, you had to at least be 13 and over to play the game. You could play the game underage, but you had to have parents' permission, or you had to have some sort of special permission. So,
Like get an administrative
right.
permission.
So I guess what you could say is I snitched, but at the same time, I was mad because this brat basically made fun of my mom when she had the tumor. So I reported her for underage. So they banned her account, but that didn't stop her from making another account. So what happened was her friend gets on the game and she's attacking me. Then all of a sudden, she herself, the brat, attacks me. Well, I am getting very frustrated. I'm getting very um like, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Like, it's drama. I don't need this. So I ended up telling Nicola the story on what happened, and she said, "Why did you do it?" And I said, "Well, she insulted my mom. Don't you think I had the right to do it?" And she said something like to the extent of, yes, you're entitled to do what you did, and you may have a point on what you did, but that doesn't changes anything about such and such. Our relationship is off. So she basically, in a way, sided with the brat. In a way. Um, and about yeah, so I did not talk to her about for 3 months. I think it was about 3 or 4 months. And one night, when Yahoo Messenger was still a thing at the time, I I had messaged her, very randomly, and I was just kind of like, "Hey, how's it going? It's been a long time since I've heard from you. Um, just wanted to say hi. I hope that maybe we could just have a nice talk." And we did. We actually ended up having a nice talk. And I said to her, I said, "Do you still talk to her?" And she said, "Oh, no, I don't talk to her anymore." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And we chit chatted for a while, and unfortunately, it was kind of a one and done situation because after that talk, I never heard from her again. I know she was saying that she was in school. I think she was with someone, and I'm pretty sure she's probably married at this point. So, I mean, hey, good for her. I mean, I wish her nothing but the best of luck. Uh, the fourth one, oh, yeah, this one here. Um, this one got rid of me basically because she was all like, "Yeah, we should probably remain friends," but yet at the same time, she was seeing somebody else behind my back.
The fuck?
Yeah, that was basically it. So let's move on from.
How old was that broad?
Let's see. She lived out in Pennsylvania. I was 18 at the time. Oh, and Nicola, by the way, Nicola, she was. I think she was the same age as me. She was 18, 17 or 18. Sarah was 24.
Damn, with your track record, I think you might end up being with an older broad.
Yeah, with the track record of how things are going here, quite frankly. Um, but yeah, no. So that whole Shazam right there. Then we jump to the next one. Um, her name was Summer, and she lived down in Mississippi. I was 18. I was 18. I didn't turn 19 yet. She was, I think, 21 or 22, somewhere in the early 20s. And what's strange about this is this kind of went both ways. What happened was she disappeared off the game, and I never knew what happened. I had her information, like cell phone and Yahoo, and I texted her, no response. And I kept messaging her, and she never responded. I even tried calling. She never responded. Well, one of her friends on the game messaged me, and she said that she got into a bad car accident. And I was like, oh shit. So once again, I started calling and texting. She never responded to me. Um, about a month and a half later, she finally gets on Yahoo, and I basically said something like, "Where have you been?" She said that she was in a car accident. She never showed me photos, but another friend of mine was saying that she claims that she had seen her account. She was using an alt account while seeing somebody else.
Right?
So yeah, in a way, I feel like it kind of went both ways. I think she got rid of me because she was trying to find some excuse, but I got rid of her because she never showed up. I don't know what happened. So I kind of felt like, well,
So, kind of like a mutual breakup.
pretty much. And
Got it.
we kept in contact for a little bit after that, and I lost contact with her since. And actually, um well, if I can go back to the previous one, the one from Pennsylvania, she was the second girl that had at least one kid. Summer would be the third, and I think she had like three, maybe four. Yikes.
Damn.
I think she
That
had
coo-
three.
that coochie got brutalized.
Yeah, tell me about it. Jeez. The next one, this one was very forgettable. Her name was, I think it was like Miranda or something like that. I don't remember. Lived out in Pennsylvania. I believe that's where she was from. British girl. I remember she was British. This was really outrageous here. Totally outrageous. One day we were talking on Yahoo Messenger, and we kept in contact. One morning, out of the blue, she messages me basically saying, I don't want to be with you. Our relationship is over. I don't want to talk to you again. We're done. Just like that. No reason behind it.
Man, that sucks.
So I basically just unfriended her, and she responds. She actually messaged me again 3 days later, and all she said was, "Hey, hey." That's all. Just hey. Same thing what Summer did. When Summer finally got back to me after a month and a half, all she said was, "Hey, hey." Not, "Hey," like, "Hey, I'm sorry for such and such," or for this case, this Miranda chick, "Hey, I'm sorry for doing this and that." No, just hey. Just hey. I didn't respond. I said, "Nope, I'm not responding to hey." So, quick and simple. And by the way, she would be the fourth girl that I would be with that had at least one kid. And actually, she just had one kid. The next one, this was on a totally different game. Total different game. This one was pretty forgettable. I don't want to say it in a bad way, but it was a mutual breakup. Her name was Brittany, and she lived down in Texas. And we mutually broke up because she got a job working with her mom at Walmart, but that wasn't the case. She was doing the graveyard shift. So while she was going from midnight to 8 in the morning, I was waking up at 8 while she was most likely going to bed at 8 or 9 o'clock, getting up at 6, 7 p.m., and going to work at 10 p.m., 11 p.m. And I haven't heard from her since, so God only knows what's going on with her. And then we come to this story.
Oh, the King of Kings story, if you will.
Yes, you know this story like
The back of my hand.
yeah, we've talked about this story more times. We've probably beaten this thing down to a bloody pulp that it just doesn't know when to leave practically. And you know what? I would like to say something at this time. I remember telling Kinga that I had a YouTube account and I did YouTube videos, that I used to do the wrestling reviews, other reviews, video game walkthroughs. And you know what? I hope she's listening to this. I really hope she's listening to this. I want to start off by saying that. Now, the background story. So, Kinga, that was her name. Kinga, Kinga. We met on a game called Eden Internal, and she was under the name Emma Key. And I was 22, she was 27 at the time. Had a kid, and at first it started off as just a regular friendship. Well, actually, I should probably tell the background story of how we met. So I was just roaming around, Eden Internal, minding my own business, and in the peer chat, somebody was selling an experience booster for like 100 gold. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, 100 gold, that's pretty cheap. I'm gonna buy this. So I PM'd her and I said, hey, I would love to buy your 100 gold. And we started talking a little bit, and I think I didn't catch it. Or no, maybe I did. She added me as a friend, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna add her as a friend back. Didn't think nothing much of it. About a couple days later, I'm minding my own business, roaming around, and she randomly IMs me, and she says hi with a smiley face. And at first, I'm like, oh, okay, oh, this is unusual, but all right, let's run with it. So I said hi back, being respectful. And we just started talking and whatnot. And as time progressed, the friendship turned into a relationship, and it basically turned into a love affair. Now, here's the catch of this whole thing. Yes, she was an online friend, as we've already been stating from the beginning. She lived out in Poland. She had a daughter, and she was married. So I was involved with a relationship that she was married to someone that unfortunately abused her. And I believe the story. I still do believe in that story. I still do. So this story went on, or the relationship goes on, and it goes on for months, goes on for at least a good year. And we left Enid Internal and we went on Skype. So we started talking on Skype, and I had seen full head to toe what she looked like through webcam and whatnot on Skype. And in 2014, I ended up getting a passport. Now, the idea with the passport was that I was going to go to Poland to see her. And I know I'm kind of skipping around here and there, but there's no, I mean there is a lot to talk about, but not a lot of it is important. Just basically, we would talk Sunday night through Thursday night going into Friday morning. That was basically our schedule. And we would not talk Friday night and Saturdays. So it was basically Sunday through Thursday going into Friday morning. That was basically the schedule. And we would talk all the time on webcam. We would talk about stories. We would just talk about the days, the past. We talked about everything under the sun. So I get this passport, and it's late 2014, and I have well, no, actually, before we get to that, this is a very key factor that happens. Winding down 2014. So I'm sitting at my house one day, and I got to thinking about me and Kinga's relationship, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I should talk to this. I feel like I need to talk about this with someone. So I got to thinking about people, and all of a sudden, there's this guy who's a pastor. I'm not going to mention his name. He's not my pastor specifically, but I know him through another friend. So I messaged him one day and I was like, hey, listen, I want to talk to you about something. I was wondering if we could meet up somewhere. And he was like, yeah, let's meet up at said place. So we met up at the said place, and I told him the story. And I could tell by his expression he was shocked, by the fact that I was involved in a relationship with a married woman that unfortunately her husband was abusive, and that she was an online friend, lived out in Poland, had a kid. Just totally shocked about it. So
Right.
now we fast forward to late December, and I ended up buying a plane ticket to go to Poland, but not the hotel. I did not buy the hotel yet. I just bought the plane ticket. So New Year's comes, New Year's goes. Here comes the new year, 2015. So the relationship is going on for almost 2.5 years now. So we're on webcam, and I showed her the ticket that I'm going to Poland, and we're very happy, we're excited and whatnot. And all of a sudden, she kind of starts winding down a little bit. Like she's not like I feel like there's an energy missing out of her. And I would say to her like, "Hey, is something wrong? Is there something you want to share?" And she was like, "No, no, I'm fine." And I would be like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm sure." And then come one night, it was early February, and she drops the bombshell on me that she's pregnant. And I'm just sitting there like, "Oh no, you've got to be kidding me here." And she's talking about this whole story about, she's saying that this is the end. I think this is the end of our relationship. Meanwhile, I'm all like, "No, let's try to figure something out here." Like I was fighting to keep it going, but she was already throwing in the towel. So about a week later, she finally was like, "You know what? I want to keep the relationship going. Let's keep it going. Let's see what happens." And I was like, "You know what? Let's just take this one day at a time. By the time August comes, that's when we'll go on from there." Now, August 5th was supposed to be the planned day for the Poland trip. So we fast forward to what I like to call the unexpected last day. And for those listening to this, you're going to understand why this was unexpected. And actually, upon this recording, next week, March 12th, going into March 13th, will mark the 5th anniversary that she pulled this stunt. And here's what happened. So we're talking on Skype, we're talking on webcam, and it's a normal conversation. We're talking about Easter, and the last two major things that she spoke about. The first thing was that she was going to announce to her family on Easter that she was pregnant. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's really nice. That's really cool. I mean, share the story with the family that you're pregnant. That's awesome. That's great." But then the second story was that she wanted to talk to my mom. And I was like, "Oh my God, like how am I going to muster all of this courage, all of this willpower to convince my mom about this whole ordeal?" Well, thank God I never did. Why? I'm going to tell you guys why. Because so we spoke Thursday going to Friday. So obviously, as I said, we didn't talk Friday night. We never talked Saturday. So Sunday comes. So Sunday comes, doesn't show up at all. And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." A couple days goes by, doesn't show up. And I was like, okay. Sent her a text message, doesn't respond. 1 week goes by, nothing. 2 weeks go by, nothing. Now, at this point, I'm getting really worried here because I have no idea what's going on here. So I sent another message, never get a response. 3 weeks go by, nothing. Now, at this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, now, wait a minute. Maybe she went on her Easter vacation and maybe she just forgot to tell me? So Easter comes, Easter goes, nothing. 1 month goes by, nothing. 2 months go by, nothing. 3 months go by, and we're already in the month of June, and we're 2 months out from my big planned Poland trip. I had no choice but to cancel the trip, and not just cancel the trip, but to lose out on money, which sting like a scorpion sting. It sucked. And, I kept trying. The closest I came was the PS4, when her name matched the same name as the name she used, Emma Key, on Eden Eternal. And I sent a message, I sent a friend request, but a couple weeks later, the friend request got denied and I was blocked from messaging.
That
And
does indeed suck. I'm still sorry about that to this day.
yeah, and I go back to 5 years. Like I said before, next week will mark 5 years. March 13th of this year, 2020, will mark 5 years that she disappeared without a trace. And I have zero idea to what had happened. And I would love to know what happened. And I personally feel that I'm never going to know what happened. It's, yes, it's very shitty. Yes, I was upset, but most importantly, I was worried because I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know, like, is she all right? Is she okay? What was her reasoning? Um, yeah, that's basically all I can say. And like I said before, like we kind of spoke about, some online relationships work, some don't, and then unfortunately, you get a case like mine where you want to believe and you're believing that it's gonna work, and all of a sudden somebody just ups and leaves, and they never show themselves. And like I said, we're going on 5 years, and she hasn't shown herself to this day, and I would love to know why. I would To this day I still would love to know the explanation as to why. And actually, before we wrap things up here, um, I would like to personally, if I could just take a moment here to personally send a message, specifically to Kinga, the girl that lives out in Poland. I don't know if you're watching this or if you knew that I had a YouTube account, YouTube channel. If you are somehow watching this and you're watching it up to this point, all I want to say is I hope you are doing well. I hope that your family, is doing very good. I hope that you are living happily in good health. And most importantly, if you should ever stumble upon this video and up to this point in the podcast, up to this point in the show, in the podcast, I hope that you can leave a comment down below. If you have to make an account, just to leave a comment. I hope that maybe we can keep in touch again, or reconnect again, and maybe we can catch up on what's been happening these last years and whatnot. And that's what I would like to say. But
Yeah.
uh,
I do pray that this gets resolved relatively soon
well,
to find
well,
out what happened or what didn't happen.
well, like I said, I mean, if she stumbles upon across this video, not video, podcast, I keep saying video, podcast up to this point in the show, you know what? I hope she will leave a comment. Just say, "Hey, it's me," um, or whatnot. I mean, no funny business, of course. No funny business. Just
Just strictly professional.
strictly professional. Strictly be real. No fake accounts. No jib jab. No funny business. I want the real deal. And like I said, if I get the real deal, I hope that we can mend bridges and we can rekindle a friendship and begin anew and start fresh and start off on a good note.
which I pray that happens because I know the full story inside and out pretty much, and it pulls my hairs as much as it pulls yours.
Right, exactly. Well, that basically wraps up this show. And I gotta say, I had a kick ass time with this show. It was a great, great time.
And also, for all of you who are listening, I do agree with him that this was a fun show, especially at the main event topic, which is online dating. But let me pitch in my 2 cents into this. Have fun with any kind of relationship that you are, guys or girls who are in one or are planning to be in one. If you want to be single, fine. That's fine and dandy if it brings you happiness. But if you want to be with somebody who does bring you happiness and true love and admiration towards one another. Would it be online dating? Would it be actual human dating where you guys find each other at school or at a library or in a concert or this and that? But especially be leery about online dating because it can lead into disastrous things. But on the other token, it could be a glorious and a gem if you so chose to make it to be that way. But all in all, have fun with any kind of relationship that you, family, friends, embark on with anything in life.
You know,
And make
let
sure
me
that it makes everybody happy.
I want to. I actually want to tell one quick story here. This was actually a movie or like a documentary movie before it became a show, and that was Catfish. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I've seen it. So it's basically
I've
about.
heard of it.
So basically, it's about this guy who meets this girl online and basically goes and sees her. So what happened in the movie is, there's this guy who met this, this hot babe, and the girl is basically talking over the phone with this guy, and the guy's digging her. He's digging her, and he invites a friend along, and they drive. I forgot where they drove to, but they drive somewhere. They arrive at the house, and here comes the mom. And the guy introduced himself that he was Alyssa's friend. I don't think that wasn't her name, but we'll use Alyssa as an example. But yeah, the guy's like, yeah, I'm Alyssa's friend and whatnot. And the guy's like, yeah, is Alyssa around? And the mother says, yeah, she's actually at work. She should be home later on this evening. So the guy is talking with the mom, and the mom apparently is an artist. So um she's showing this guy, her artwork and whatnot. Very beautiful artwork. Very beautiful artwork. And the mom gets a call from the daughter saying that she's not going to be home tonight because I guess she got a flat tire. So she's spending the night at a friend's house, but she'll be there in the afternoon tomorrow. So the next morning comes, the guy goes back, and the girl decides to draw a portrait of the guy. So she's drawing a portrait, comes out beautiful. So they're on this ranch, this farm ranch, and they're talking, the guy and the mother, and they're talking and they're talking, and all of a sudden the mother looks over to the guy, and the mother goes, you know, I gotta tell you something, and I think it's best to tell this now before it's too late. And the guy goes, what's up? And the mother goes, there's no Alyssa. And the guy's like, what? And the mother admits and says, I was actually Alyssa. And the story I told you about how supposedly my daughter had a flat, yeah, I was making up a story. So the guy that he was talking to that he thought was Alyssa, it was a married woman, but she never had kids.
That sucks.
But I guess on a good note, now I don't know if they still keep in contact or not. I don't know the guy personally, but I guess they left on good terms. They kept in contact, and I don't know if they still keep in contact to this day. But if they do, I do still think that's cool. And I mean, yes, it's a sucky situation that happened, but in defense, it is still a cool thing that they still, you know, there was no argument, there was no yelling, screaming, or shouting. It was good terms. It was cool, level-headed attitude, and that if the guy is still friends with her to this day after 12 years, then more power to the both of them.
Right.
But I just wanted to spill that story out really quick. We're almost going on an hour and 45 minutes here, but like I said, I would love to continue more, but we do have to wrap things up here. I
Can I
hope.
mention one thing?
Yep.
Can I mention one thing?
Go ahead.
Like I said, anywhere you can meet people online, eHarmony, Tinder,
Match.com.
Match.com, MySpace if you still have that, and you still use it for personal use. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, Mixer, YouTube even. Like this guy's gonna be putting it on there soon. So no matter where you guys find your soulmate, or if you guys don't find a soulmate, and if you just remain single, just make sure that you are ensuring that it's giving you all the happiness that you want in life. Because that's what I want, and that's what this whole squad is, everybody to be happy in life.
And that's the bottom line, because Tony Trinity said so.
And I love you guys.
Exactly. We all love you. And we love you guys even more for tuning in to another edition of the Let's Talk Anything podcast. Please do subscribe, hit that notification button when we do another show next time. The next show will be the Elimination Chamber review, which will be either that Sunday night or Monday after Raw.
Fair enough.
And until then, guys, we thank you for joining us. Please do follow us on Twitter. Our links will be in the description box down below, which will be. As always, I am Matthew Sonic Mix alongside my co-host,
Tony Trent.
And until then, you guys have yourselves a good morning, afternoon, evening, and we will see you next time on another edition of the Let's Talk Anything podcast.
Bang, bang. Have a nice day.
Bang, bang, indeed. Have yourselves a great night. And stay out and stay safe, as always, and make sure to live in good health and harmony. Have a good night, everyone.